Let's do a show. Let's do a show right now. What are we doing?
Can't you see? Everyone! They're here already! You're next!
Let's go!
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born!
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So we are stoked. Why? Because today on the show we are joined by Jackie, and Funkhouser has mispronounced your name to me several times, so I want to make sure I get this right. Jackie Koppell?
Yeah, it rhymes with
See?
Bell.
See how easy that was, Funkhouser?
I thought it was.
The creator of Newsy News, which if you haven't checked out is awesome. And you're up in it. You're in the fray. You've interviewed like some... All right, how do you get... Like when you interview a John Kerry or a James Carville or a Newt Gingrich,
Sure.
how do you get an audience with a Newt in this day and age? How does that
You go to conferences and conventions. That's how you get access to them. So the thing that most people don't realize is when you go to conferences and conventions, and I'm a bit, I can be a bit like positively aggressive in the sense of really fun. It's called bird dogging, basically. But
You're the squeaky wheel that's getting the grease.
That's right. I am. And basically, look, they have to get from their car into the green room. Sometimes you can just sneak into the green room. Look, if you're nice
have you
girl
really
walks in, innocently looks around. Where am I? Oh, hi, Newt Gingrich.
Right. I mean, you do kind of like, when you do your Newsy News stuff, and check it out on YouTube, Jackie Koppell's Newsy News, you do look like someone that would not be out of place in a green room waiting to interview Newt Gingrich. It's just a surprising thing waiting for him on the other end. But which green rooms have you snuck into? See what happens when you leave the studio, Funkhouser? We have to get out more.
Yep.
There you go. So I've gone to... I've been to the Democratic and Republican conventions. I was there in 2012 and 2016. And then I've also gone to, or I should say, I, along with compatriots, have gone to CPAC, which is the Conservative Political Action Conference, or convention. I can't remember actually which one. I think it's conference. To go interview Republicans, obviously at the DNC, RNC, you interview both. Depends. It just depends on the topic. Will determine obviously who I'm interested in. But when you go to these conventions and conferences, basically the craziest thing at the RNC and the DNC, they're just walking around. It's not even like the green room. They are just walking around like everyone else. So when you go to these conventions, if you're just in the hallway, I mean, the sheer number of Congress people and senators that are just walking around. So you approach them, and every politician wants to be heard. So you give them an opportunity.
I got to imagine that a Newt Gingrich, is someone who. Well, what was he like when you met him? Like, how did your up close and personal thing with Newt go?
So with Newt, I met him at the RN.
You didn't start with going, "You're a Newt."
I did not. Callista gave me an icy stare. I will say that. I will say that. And her hair impressivly does not move. It does not move.
I gotta wonder sometimes who like if you're a politician or involved in sort of like the political where do you get your hair done? Like, because there's definitely a helmety thing going on because they're constantly going to be on camera. They don't want a thing out of space. And it doesn't matter how much Aquanet you go through. I think that there's one person given all those haircuts to men and women that are just, there's never going to be anything out of place. Like a politician not only must, they all go to the same hairdressers and they all have their own personal hole in the ozone layer. It's really quite a thing when you see it in person.
I think that is totally accurate. They all have their own hair and makeup person, right? So they do it in their hotel room or house or, whatever the event is. They do it there. So,
but
it's
back
good
to you meeting
good to be a
Newt.
politician. Yes, back to
you meeting Newt. How did, interview stuff aside, What sort of person did he strike you as?
Well, if I'm being super honest, it was a little uncomfortable because he checked me out, and that while standing next to his wife. So that was a little uncomfortable.
And how did you don't leave out any details. At what point were you aware that Newt Gingrich was checking you out? Did he side-eye it?
Oh no.
How did this work? How did this go?
Uncomfortable.
Well, I mean,
the music alone.
Oh, wait a second. We're going to have to get to how Newt Gingrich checked our guest Jackie out after the break. That's probably the best tease we've ever had on the show. We'll learn how Newt leers next. Thank you for hanging out.
Always fair and mentally unbalanced. KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So our guest on the show today is creator of Newsy News. Do yourself a favor, check it out on YouTube. Jackie Koppell. She's been featured literally all over the juiciest parts of the interwebs, up to and including Huffington Post, The Atlantic, and Upworthy. And a big part of what she does is sneaks into green rooms and interviews politicians, up to and including Newt Gingrich. And the question, in case you missed it earlier, was, what is Newt Gingrich like? Forget the interview, forget what you said and what he said, but in the run up to and at the period after the interview, what was old Newt like? And you said it was a little awkward. Why?
Well, because he checked me out standing while he was standing next to his wife.
Funkhouser, cue the music.
More awkward. Oh yeah.
There we go. So, all right. You're standing there. Do you shake hands or when do you notice Newt's checking you out?
Well, so I guess guys don't totally understand how it works. So you guys just look at us, and your eyes. You can follow someone's eyes and see where they're going, and so it's happening, that you're being checked out. And it's far more uncomfortable when they're super old.
A friend of mine has a friend of mine who is a gentleman that prefers the romantic embrace of other gentlemen says he has the most impeccable dar, is what he refers to it as. He's like, I've got the most impeccable dar. I was like, well, how do you do it? How do you is it just a thing that because you're gay and they're gay? He's like, no. It's like this, when they're checking you out, you just can't help but he was like, guys are super obvious with this stuff, and they don't realize they're doing it. It's just a hormonal knee jerk reaction. They cannot help themselves, and that's how I know if someone's gay, and I'm never wrong. I was like, interesting. So I guess it's the same could be said for did you notice that his eyes lingered on any specific feature?
Area?
Yeah, was it is Newt a leg man? What's his deal? Based on your experience
based
with
on my
him.
experience. So I was fairly close to him, in which case, and I was sticking a microphone in his face. So there wasn't a ton of time. It wasn't like he stepped back and was like, let me take a gander. He was more, I was. Look at you. Yeah, hey. No, it was just uncomfortable because, next to him is Callista. But yeah, when you're throwing a microphone in someone's face, they don't have it's not like it's a ton of time. You just know what's going on.
Well, based on the fact that you are, and I quote, one of the top 5 most crush-worthy female political comedians, how could old Newt be expected to contain his interest?
There you have it. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
So, what did you make of him as besides the fact that it was awkward that he checked you out while his wife was standing right there? What do you make of him? Because I have an opinion about old Newt, and I'm curious to see if yours matches up. Because you've had up close and personal experience, me not so much.
Sure. In general, or based on my interview experience.
Well, both.
I think he is a true politician, to say the least, and I don't know that I mean that in the most positive sense of the word. he's, I think he would even admit it. He's an opportunist.
Yeah, no, I mean, so for
that's
me,
what he is. He doesn't really stick to much policy, and he's certainly not one to shy away from hypocrisy. So,
Well, I mean, like for me, on the left and the right, politicians in general, and like I tend to find almost little to no difference between people on the left and the right. I think, we'll get into this whole big thing about how labeling yourself is negating yourself and how they just want to remove critical thinking from the process, and the fact that if you the only way you can participate in the primaries is if you're a registered something or other, and how I think that's horribly wrong. But the bottom line is, I think
feelings on this at all.
I just think what I think.
Okay.
But
Cool.
But I am of the opinion that politicians tend to fall into one of two categories. You have sort of people that think, I would like to serve the public, and I'm going to do that. And along the way, they get derailed. Along the way, they get disheartened or burnt out, as often people do, no matter what their chosen profession is, and they become a little less effective. And over the years, they care less and less. Their principles are slowly eroded by time and circumstance, and it just is what it is. And then you have the other folks that are like, you know what? I can't make anything happen with a guitar. I'm not really good at writing stuff that people want to read. I've got no acting ability. I'm not good looking. How can I sort of be a shining star? I know, politics. And to me, old Newt falls firmly into that category. Yeah. And I think those were my feelings, and they were galvanized by the fact that an opportunist, I think, is a good way of referring to it. Because did you see that? A little while ago, the agency that books him for public speaking engagements, which is like, I'm sure 95% of his income, sent out a rate hike and went, hey, just so you know, you want to book Newt at a dinner to speak or something of that nature. Sure. He used to cost this much. He's now about 35% more. Why? Well, he's got up close and personal experience with the Donald, and because of that, because of his unique close personal relationship with the president-elect, it's now going to cost you more. And I was just like, wow, it really is one of those people, like, I'm not even interesting enough to generate my own thing. My stock has been raised by the fact that I've been seen in public with this guy a couple times. And I was just like, the whole drain the swamp. I was like, ooh, could you drain the swamp of Newts? That would appear to be a good first move if you really are serious about swamp draining. So he struck you as an opportunistic person that really is just after some sort of celebrity and has very little or no public genuine interest.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
See? Confirmed by someone who's had up close and personal experience with him. Also, he's a lech. Good to know.
Yes.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of yous, guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on. Come on.
Our guest on the show today is a creator of Newsy News. Check it out on YouTube. Jackie Koppell has been featured on, all over the place. Every part of the internet that is getting some traction, there is where you're going to find Jackie Koppell. Places like Huffington Post, Upworthy, The Atlantic, and she's also snuck into many a green room at places like CPAC, where she's been able to interview folks like Newt Gingrich. Also, you interviewed John Kerry. What was that? Was your first question him? Why the long face?
That's funny. That was funny.
Right? Yeah.
How did
that go
over there?
Well, yeah. I mean, see, that would be why I wouldn't get any further than the first second and a half of the interview. He'd be like, "Okay, our time together is now done." Where you probably have the good sense to leave that till the end of the interview. How did it go? Like, did you go up? My hot dog could use some catch. Can you help with that?
Oh man, you were doing all right. That first joke was pretty decent, but then
I'm not saying it's good.
One,
I'm saying I can't hold myself back, as evidenced by this. But like, what? Seriously,
maybe long face, big brain. You never know.
You never know.
You go. You know what they say about a man with a long face? No. Well, I will say one.
I don't think that's a thing, but maybe it should.
We should make it a thing. It's John Kerry's specific thing. I think that'd be great if he lived on in perpetuity. I mean, obviously he's still going strong, but if he just forever in history that joke remained, and the reason people remembered him was because you would say.
Do you think John Kerry falls into the public servant, legitimate concern for the people type of guy, or is he was just like, my star has been eclipsed by ketchup via marriage? I need to do something to make myself stand out a little bit more. I'm going to take a swing at being president of these United States of America and leader of the free world. Or like, what'd you make of him when you met him in person? I'm just like, no one's ever going to let us near any of these people, so I have to live vicariously through you.
You got
it. No argument against that. No, they're not. See that thing that I do? You can't do that, but I'll tell you all about it.
You can do it.
I'll send you a postcard.
You can do it, but just remember, you got to act the part. You just got to, walk into those rooms and just pretend. Or just run around.
Like a newt.
You slide in there, not unlike a newt. I noticed that. Oftentimes you wear a blonde wig, a blonde sort of Fox News-esque wig.
Excuse
do you
me,
wear
that
those
is my
into the
sister.
interviews?
That is my sister, not me.
Ah, gotcha.
She and I diverge in our political outlook.
Very good, very good. So, I mean, like, what's John Kerry like?
John Kerry was very nice. I do believe that he falls into the category of public servant, and I'm really hard-pressed for anyone to say not. Look, he served in our military, in our armed forces, really valiantly. He's a lauded military hero. He's served, our country. I think for anyone to say that he's not in it for good reasons. Look, and no one's perfect, right? And it's not to say you don't get benefits from being in office. You do by the nature of, sort of society. People elevate people to positions and therefore they look up to them and therefore but there's a difference between looking up to someone and then corruption. And I think he's in it for the right reasons. And I don't think he's been compromised or anything like that. So, but he was asked, it was in 2012. And of course he was not elected president when he ran. And if I recall, the question was something to the effect of, how do you feel? Do you miss not being, or do you wish it was you up there, or something to that effect?
You asked him that?
Yeah.
And how did he respond? I mean, I guess we could probably watch the whole thing at Newsy News on YouTube. But how did he respond? How did he take that?
Well, I will say you can also find it on Facebook. So if you go
on the sizable chin, did he take it on the chin? Anyway, how did he take it?
That was good. That was a good
Thank
one.
You.
Good job.
See?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you can also find Newsy News on Facebook. You can do a search for it, or you can go to newsynews.tv and it redirects you to the Facebook page. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. No, he took it in stride, and his security people were like, "Hey, we have to go. We have to leave now." And I think there was like a CNN reporter that was trying to get a question in, and did
the CNN reporter be like, look at you and go, "Great, you ruined it for all of us. Nice going."
I have a better one on that. She wasn't thrilled, clearly, but at CPAC, it was my sister actually approached Marco Rubio, and it was amazing. It's just amazing the access you can get if you just creep around in hallways. By the way, it's all legal.
Write that down, Funkhouser.
I just want to put that out there. You attend, you have a pass, you've paid for it, or you're media, and it's fine. But anyway, so I ended up walking next to Marco Rubio to his car, and there were all these other reporters around. And I asked him if he thought his hands were big enough. Or she asked him if his hands were big enough for the presidency, and he gets in his car, and then a reporter literally goes, "That's what you asked him?" And I was like,
"Hey, man, he started it." Like,
right.
That's the one thing people will say, that Donald Trump degraded the narrative on the right, and the thing is, he was such a game changer that it forced people like Marco Rubio to try and play his own game, and he did that very, very poorly. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is what our presidency has become. Like, how big are your hands? Because that relates to the size of your junk." I'm like, it's actually, yes, you are right about how things have about the shape of things to come, but that one came from Marco Rubio, and it was.
Well, I mean, It really came from, I think, isn't it? I mean, he's notorious for having small hands and caring about the size of his hands. So,
you know what they say about guys with
decades earlier.
You know what they say about guys with big feet, he says, as he rests his size 13s on the table?
They have long faces?
No, big disappointment when the pants come down, and those myths turn out to be not true whatsoever. It creates a certain amount of expectation and then disappointment. It's a very, very unfortunate state of affairs that people actually buy into that stuff.
Are you speaking from experience?
Well, I mean, pants coming down, and the ensuing judgment has been one long parade of disappointment.
But is it long or not? Oh, I just keep going. There you go.
Somebody stop her.
Barry's like, nope.
Usually at this stage in the game, what happened? Usually it's a stage in the game. We do news with Funkhouser. Funkhouser, hit the news bed, but we're going to talk about some very sad personal Funkhouser news fast. I think you should hit the news bed that introduces you, because we're going to talk about you today.
Fine.
Do you have the other one? Yep.
You do, but you don't think All right.
This is My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair, and certainly not balanced. And now, super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhouser. Barry Funkhouser.
Yes.
Barry Funkhouser.
One more time!
Barry Funkhouser.
Thank you.
That has to be one of the greatest introductions of any person I have ever heard in my life.
Oh,
Wow.
Thank you.
we think so too.
Incredible.
So before we get to
the intro continues. It's not over yet. The music's still
no,
playing.
this is now the bed. We talk over this for the next half hour.
So sorry.
So
okay.
every single day, and I've been doing this for a whopping 2 days, so I feel confident in saying it's going to go on forever. But every single day, we have a Twitter poll. Today's Twitter poll, if you want to take it, at ADSXE, was Donald Trump, in fact, urinated on by Russian prostitutes? Your choices are yes, part of the GOP, no, fake news, or who cares, he's an adult, he can do what he wants. You can go take that poll. We'll give you the results in the not-too-distant future. However, yesterday's poll, I inadvertently might have let a bit of a cat out of a bag. See, what'd you do this past Sunday just gone by, Funkhouser?
Me, I did TRX yoga for the first time ever. Still feeling it.
And you said what about your experience doing TRX yoga? You said you got to do it how many times to what?
Well, they say you have to do it 4 times for your body to be transformed.
And so immediately the question comes up, will Funkhouser stick with yoga long enough to, and I quote, transform his body? And we decided to put that to the opinion of the internet. Your options were...
You decided.
Yes, for the royal we. Yes, he'll do it for life. He'll do it for a couple of weeks. No, not at all. And only to meet girls. Now... the vast majority of the people that took part in the poll feel as though Funkhouser is only doing it to meet girls. But then the natural question came up, like, wait, hold on a second. Didn't Funkhouser have a female in his life? Why would he be interested in meeting girls? Is he a dirty philanderer? And, well, I'll let you, being the news guy, Funkhouser, I'll let you make the announcment yourself.
I'm single again.
That's so sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad this time. I'm going to try not to cry on the radio.
Well, if it gets to be too much,
not to cry on the radio.
if it gets to be too much, then we'll move right along. But
Okay.
until then, let's talk about this for a second, shall we? What was your motivation
He
to
had
go
a
to
rough
yoga
month.
and meet girls?
He had a rough December.
Long December. What was
Right,
my
yeah.
motivation? It wasn't like a New Year's resolution thing. It was just, getting back into, sort of a regular thing, trying to figure out what to do on the weekends now, because I have all this epic amount of free time. I no longer have puppies either. Lost the puppers.
Funkhouser, let's just break this down.
2016 was a bad year for Funker.
Well, especially the tail end of 2016, because
the tail
any one of
end,
these events,
he lost 2 puppies.
Thanks.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
good.
any one of these events is a terrible thing to happen to someone. But when they happen to you all in 1 week or the space of just a couple of days, Funkhouser lost his 2 beloved puppies.
Yeah,
he
like
got
2
into
weeks from each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got into a car accident, and then you break up with your girlfriend.
Yes. All within the first, 2 days of, 48 hours.
Yeah. So
That's awful.
Yeah.
You had a really, really rough go of it there.
And
for a
then
second.
Christmas. And then New Year's.
Right. Yeah.
So basically,
You know
America, you can feel good about yourself because your life is not as bad as Funkhouser's.
Seriously.
You
Hey,
know
it's
what?
better now, but
That's good.
man.
You know what? If she was going to break up with you, the kind thing to do is what is known as the turkey drop, where, generally speaking, if you're going to break up with someone, you got to do it by Thanksgiving, because then you got to go through the holidays and all that. And you can't break up with someone during the holidays. It's just not done. If you don't break up with someone by Thanksgiving, you are arbitrarily stuck with them until after Valentine's Day.
I was going to say, that's the problem, is you have to go a whole quarter in a relationship you might not want.
You have to go a whole So if you don't meet the turkey drop window, sorry, too bad, so sad. You got to stick it out and be the decent human being. That was not the case. You were left sort of high and dry during the holidays, a time when you're not at work. You don't have work to fill your life to distract you from life's multitudes of problems. It was a rough December for
man.
super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhouser. And I was incredibly impressed by how well you handled it. I think the world would be a better place if more people were like Funkhouser and could take things into their stride the way you do. But was part of the motivation with yoga class, all right, Gotta juice this puppy up. Gotta get myself back into shape. Gotta transform my body in 4 yoga class sessions so I can be a more attractive prospect on online dating sites. Was that part of the motivation?
No, I'm not doing that online dating thing.
Really?
Because the last 3 were that, and they don't last more than a certain amount of time. So, I'm not doing that. I'm going out and meet people in real life.
In bars.
Yeah,
Right.
I was gonna say, drink your sorrow away. Meet someone new. That'll go really well.
I'm not looking to transform my body to meet girls, even though the Twitter poll said that I was. I'm just, looking for
you
stuff
don't have
to do.
There's girls in yoga class. There's a difference between trying to transform your body so you're a more attractive prospect, and then just going to a place where there's going to be a lot of girls downward facing their dogs.
I'll let that one slide.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, what's the deal?
Hey.
By the way, hold on. Play that again. Jackie, do you know who this is?
What dog that is? I couldn't tell you.
One more time, Funkhouser. That is former presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton. We play it over and over again on the show, and people just, it's just, she said that oftentimes Republicans appear as though they are barking dogs, and then did her impersonation of a Republican as a barking dog. One more time, Funkhouser.
Whoa.
Real radio.
104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
So if you're just joining us, our guest on the show today is Jackie Koppell, creator of the incredible comedy news brand Newsy News. Do yourself a favor, check it out. newsynews.tv is where people can go do exactly that, right, Jackie?
Yes, please do. Newsynews.tv will take you to the Facebook page or on YouTube. Either one is awesome. Both are better.
Mm-hmm. And she is incredibly legitimate in ways that Funkhouser and I will never be. She's interviewed folks like John Kerry, James Carville, Newt Gingrich, and so on and so forth.
You've been in the swamp.
You've been in the swamp, pre-drainage.
It's very swampy. It's still swampy. I mean, who are we kidding? It's still, I don't know, arguably swampier. Swampier. More lobbyists than ever. More politicians than ever. It's going to be stellar.
Well, it's going to be a good couple of years for folks like you that there'll be no shortage of things to report on over the next 4 years, one would imagine. Not only that, but she has been listed as one of the top 5 most crush-worthy female political comedians alongside folks like Sarah Silverman and Samantha Bee and folks like that. And usually at this stage in the game, we're doing news. But Funkhouser has his own brand of news today, and I'm inadvertently let the cat out of the bag that he has become single again.
Fine.
And so we're discussing Funkhouser's pain on the show today.
That's just good news for the ladies of Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, line up, everyone.
That's right. They're getting ready to storm the bar as we speak. Because he said he wants to meet people IRL.
IRL. Mm-hmm. IRL at TRX. Even though, have you ever tried to talk to a girl at a yoga class? They're not interested in conversation, it seems.
What about after?
They disperse like somebody turned the light on. They're just they're gone. I don't think so. I haven't been part of a yoga thing. I mean, I've only been like 3 times, but I've not seen anyone fraternize with each other. They just kind of meet. No one talks to each other, and then they go on their separate ways. It is Sunday morning at like 6 a.m. too. So
okay, that's aggressive.
That's
Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Man,
right?
life has turned for you, Funkhouser.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. He's a morning person. And I'm insanely jealous of that fact. Like, doesn't matter how early I get up, how consistently, I will always, when allowed to, default to my body's usual setting, sleep till at least noon. Like, it's just how you could be a morning person and commit to yoga at that hour in the morning on a Sunday is an interesting one. But you said things started to go downhill when her brother moved out. Like, you guys all sort of like cohabited together. You, the girl,
yeah, we spent all the time together.
Yeah.
All of the time.
All of the time. Too much of the time.
Apparently.
And
she was having none of it.
What I find interesting is, like, we talked a little bit about this off the air, where I was just like, does it get in the way of romantic encounters, having her brother next door in the next room, and he was like, oh, like you wouldn't believe. And you would think that the brother moving out would have been happy times are here again. But what happened, Funkhouser?
It kind of, I don't know, it reset back to the beginning, and it just fell out, So you could tell when things are kind of going south. I thought I was just annoying her, being around so much. So I'm like, I have to find hobbies and go out and do stuff. Leave her alone. But, as luck would have it, I was correct.
As luck would have it. Yeah.
I find that's true in so many things. Like, don't you find that, like, not just in relationships, but, maybe in workplace situations or maybe with friends, you have sort of one person that's a scapegoat, and you're just like, oh man, things would be so much better if they weren't around. And then for whatever reason, they're not around anymore, and you're left with your actual problem to deal with. That's, I think, a lot of the time, if you have that sort of like scapegoaty buffer type person, you're not forced to take a good look at the cracks in whatever the hell is going on.
Yeah.
You think that's what happened?
I have dogs on their last legs at the time. Like, I had a 3-year-old dog with water on the brain and a 16-year-old dog that's looking at me going, today might be the day. So I had other fish to fry at the time. So I wasn't really looking at the whole scenario with all of the goggles. I had half of the goggles. So in hindsight, I see it all, but
also communication.
Yeah. Talk to a funker. Come on with it.
Talk to a... It's true. There needs to be communication. I am a firm believer that if there was actually good communication, it would solve a lot of problems. Not just relationship problems, but world problems. If people were just more honest and more authentic.
Yeah, I grew up in England, and one thing that I found that they have the ability to do in England, just because, like, I think there's less adrenaline and cortisol released into their brains on a general basis, for whatever the hell reason. They're a lower key bunch of folks across the pond. I find people have the ability in England to disagree with one another, like sports fans and soccer hooligans aside. They have the ability to disagree with one another without getting all bent out of shape. They can say, I don't really think that's true for me. but I understand that's the way it is for you. I think that level of civility where you could agree to disagree and still manage to kind of get along and inhabit the same space. I think you're right. I think that would be a good thing in relationships and throughout the world. You put yourself into situations where you're talking to folks that you don't agree with, and there's a certain amount of professional disagreement that must go on. But do you find when you go to places like CPAC, you find folks that, hey, I really don't, I agree on almost nothing with this person, but I would like to hang out?
Every once in a while. Once in a while, right? Like at our core, I mean, this can get all meta, but at our core, we're all human, right? And we all sort of want the same things, whether or not we're authentic about letting that happen or what you actually want. I think that's a different story. But generally speaking, we want to be happy. We want our health. We want our friends and family to be happy and healthy. We want children to be, successful. So I feel like, if there's a baseline and you can agree on that, you can go from there. I think sometimes people, especially when we're talking about politics, but it could be anything, right? Once you insert the noise into all of that, I think a lot of it gets lost. And so I think that's what we're seeing happen in our political discourse right now. No matter what, everyone is painted as wrong, and there's just a refusal to find common ground and to recognize the humanity in each other. And I think that's not just sad. I think it's going to have really dire consequences.
More from Jackie Koppell when we return. Plus, we'll suggest how Barry Funkhouser can get some sweet lovin' in the not-too-distant future.
Real radio 104.1.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So, Funkhouser, we have discovered, is single again. He's started going to yoga classes, not so much to meet females, but perhaps for the mind-body treatment and how it will help him approach
for my chakra.
For your chakra. What did you say the other day? Ow, my chakra hurts. I thought that was really funny. We have we've got something a little unusual in the room today, Funkhouser.
What happened?
A girl.
Oh,
we have a female perspective. Now, you're a guy that might be looking to meet girls. I could give you advice on how to approach females, but what the hell do I know? Literally nothing at all. Knuckle-dragging idiot over here. If Funkhouser was to, he's given up on the dating apps, Jackie.
Are you going to pretend that I'm not in the room and talk about me? Because I'm really
just
uncomfortable.
For a moment.
Okay.
I think
just
it's
for a
sort
moment.
of fun to do that.
Fine.
Yeah. If our friend Funkhouser, Jackie, was looking to meet a like-minded female. Now, okay, Funkhouser hasn't brought this up, but one of the things that I think was a rift between him and perhaps the last two girlfriends I've known of his is that they do not understand what he does for a living. Like, there's
porn.
Not porn, not the porny side of it. Although it does take. Look, if you say, "Hey, my job is going to be hanging out with a bunch of porn stars while they do porny type things in a studio," if you find a woman that can sort of understand that and accept that and feel like there's nothing untoward going on.
I just want to also preface with none of that is taking place in this room.
Right.
I want to be crystal clear. This is a different radio show, and none of that is happening.
Radios. That is true. But here's the thing. If Funkhouser, who no longer wants to be part of dating apps, wants to meet a person to date, a female for companionship, what should he do in 2017? What's the best move, do you suppose?
Well, be normal.
Well, clearly,
I'm instantly out.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think it's. I don't think it's rocket science, right? Don't be weird. Don't be. I think the whole you have to wait 3 days is dumb, particularly in the era that we live in. We all have cell phones. We're all on our cell phones. if you had a good time, you don't need to waste 3 days, right? Would I leave the date and text right away and be like, oh my God, okay, great, let's do that again in an hour? No, I wouldn't do that. But, express interest, take her out, find some fun stuff to do. If you are the one who invites her out, you should, take care of the bill. If she invites you out, she should take care of the bill. It can. What was that laughter?
If she invites you out.
Oh, all right. We need to work on your self-esteem.
Hey, mister, would you like to go on a date? It has never happened.
Really?
Does that happen to you, AD?
Well,
he's like, yes.
No. Well, you got to understand. My past is I was a punk rock kid in a band. I had a tour bus at age 16, and so my way of meeting women stunted me for post band life because I would play a show and stand there, and that's how I would meet women. They're play a show and go stand there, and and people would say, I would really like to take you out to dinner. I'd be like, no, thank you. That seems weird. You're 35, But nevertheless, it was it left me when I got out of a band, when I didn't have a room full of people looking at me, and I entered the real world. It put me in a strange place when I had to be like, hello, I'm Adrian. Would you like to get a cup of coffee sometimes? So it seems like an embarrassment of riches, but it doesn't really set you up for life in the real world. So I have been asked out, but not in a normal situation.
I see. Okay, well then I'll leave that door open.
Yeah. Look, we live in a new era, right? I know you're not into the dating apps, but Bumble is a dating app where now Bumble should sponsor this.
I was
you
on
did?
that.
All right. So, see, there you go. The ladies have to approach you. It's a whole new world.
If I was going to do a dating app, I think it would probably be Bumble because you never want to feel like a creeper. You got to be forward, I suppose, and go after the things that you want in life. But part of the reason why I was never good at the, hi, I'm Adrian, would you like to get a cup of coffee thing was because I was like, it would be cool if she wanted to talk to someone like me, but she doesn't want to talk to someone like me. And I get freaking irritated when people talk to me too. Doesn't matter who they are. If you're taking time out of my day, shuddy. You might not have things to do with your life, but I do, and I'm running behind. Leave me alone. But I never wanted to feel like that guy. So that thing that you were on for a second and a half, Funkhouser, Bumble, where you just put yourself out there and women approach you. You were on that for almost no time whatsoever, and women were approaching you. With charming lines like, hey.
Oh, okay. So that
and a list of questions.
I would prefer a list of questions than hey. I'm sorry. Hey tells me nothing save for you are wildly uncreative and I don't want to actually talk to you.
Yeah, but
hey doesn't do it.
Again, you're a female. You don't understand that, for a guy, hey equals, oh my gosh, he wants to have my children. You're used to uncreative approaches at all times. Girls do not approach guys all that regularly. So anytime, when a girl looks at a guy, 9 times out of 10, they go, she definitely wants to marry me. This is it. That's all it takes because we're so, the way society has worked for so many years, we are the people to whom the responsibility of approaching falls. So if we're even approached a little bit with a hey, it's not a great conversation starter, but we think our worlds are about to change.
Right. So they're not. Hey is not going to cut it. Hey in my mind, and I know for a decent number of women, that's the death knell. Hey means I will never, that doesn't do anything. Even hey, how's your week going? At the very least, it's a conversation starter because if you say hey, then I'm just going to say hey. And then what do you say back? Hey, hey? I mean, hey, ho, hey. I mean,
and then you go, hey, and they say that sounds like Cosby, and no. Yeah. But I saw you waste a golden opportunity, Funkhouser.
What?
We were hanging out. We were hanging out
golden
backstage.
Opportunity. What's
golden
up with
opportunity?
Golden is the key word these days.
2 days after my dog dies, I miss a golden opportunity. What did I miss? Tell me.
Well, okay, all right. Now I wouldn't
apply all the other things.
Okay. This is why it was golden opportunity. And I would never say that you should be going after it hardcore after you've gone through such a terrible thing. But we were hanging out this tiny little theater show where we had been summoned to interview Metallica and see them play in front of 700 people. And you get a hey on Bumble where women approach you. and a sort of what you doing type of situation, and you're there, you're bumbling, you're encouraging the female attention, and you did not say, well, actually, I'm backstage at Metallica talking to the guys in the band before they play. Like, now, I'm not someone that thinks that you should try and sort of big dog with your profession, but it is an interesting conversation starter.
Is
You
it?
did not do that.
That you were talking to Metallica?
I'm always uncomfortable dropping that.
Well, I mean, you don't want to be a name dropper, but it is what you were doing right then. It's not like, oh, so when we were hanging out with Metallica, like, oh, actually, I'm backstage at the Metallica show. We're interviewing some guys.
Yeah, that would have been
What
cool.
are you doing?
That would have
Yeah.
been normal.
Yeah,
I
see?
guess so.
Yeah. That would have been
like-
normal and a cool thing.
Yeah, the normal thing would have been to walk around and find a real life IRL girl to talk to instead of being on Bumble at the Metallica show. But
Well,
I see
mean,
what you
but the
guys are
thing
going
is-
at.
Yeah.
We're just trying to
I can get
encourage
behind
you.
it.
We just want to get you back out there. Just, just
Yes.
getting...
Well,
getting
what's
some
the
lady
appropriate
attention.
time to go back? Because I feel like I shouldn't go back out there right
Well,
now.
I think it's more how do you feel, and I know. Typically, men don't love talking about their emotions.
Oh, I
but-
do.
All right. Well,
Oh,
in
he
that
does.
case,
Yeah.
Oh, well, in that case, how are you feeling emotionally?
How am I?
Do you feel open if you were to meet someone, or are you sort of like, I'm not?
I don't know. I keep going back and forth with that.
Yeah. So
I
I
don't
would
know.
say like
I
maybe
don't
give
think
it a
I'm ready.
little longer, because that's not fair to other women who might be interested. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, oh, he's great, and then you're like, yeah, peace, and then that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah. That's
So-
always in the back of my mind when I'm swiping. That's why I'm not swiping anymore. I'm just like,
But wouldn't it be okay for him to have a little interaction? Like, there'd be no harm in sort of like not putting himself out there, but like coffee, lunch, hanging out, talking. Although do you find that stuff exhausting when you're doing that, Funkhouser?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a coffee date with somebody this past week down the street, and
I'm gonna give you advice that a friend provided me, and it can revolutionize your dating experience.
okay.
Which is, before you meet, especially for not if you've met the person in life, but or IRL, but if you're online, do a Skype or a FaceTime beforehand. That's what we have technology for. That way, you don't have to get dressed, drive. I mean, for women, add makeup. I don't know if you're doing the makeup thing, but, makeup, drive, get dressed, valet, because in LA, that's a thing that you almost always have to do. Then sit there for the requisite hour and then drive home, right? Losing at least 2 hours of your life. You can just hop on a FaceTime or a Skype, chat for 15, 20 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it is, and then really make that decision pretty quickly, because it's at that point you are meeting, right? Like at that point it's the same thing as if you were meeting in real life. You're making determinations based on, interest, conversation, body language, all of that. It's amazing. It saves you so much time. It's awesome. I found out someone was like a super aggressive road rager, and I was like, great, thanks, Kay, bye. And I didn't have to waste time. It was awesome.
At what point does someone road rage too aggressively? Because I believe in road rage. I think it's sort of therapeutic for me to road rage. But like, what's the cutoff point?
Well, I think once you're
Not
getting
when
a
you're
little
on a phone with a girl.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, that's definitely not putting your best foot forward.
Right.
Also, you shouldn't be FaceTiming while you drive. That just,
Yeah.
that's not a good
There
thing.
were all sorts of red flags with that one. But
See,
it was
here's the other
awesome.
thing here's the other thing you shouldn't do, Funkhouser, and you did this the other day when you went out on a date.
Yeah. Okay.
Do not say, well, she's a dance instructor and a former cheerleader, so she's got a rockin' bod. Face is sort of okay-ish. Don't tell me that sort of stuff, because if things go well with this person and you wind up committing to them, I'm going to be there at your wedding being like, okay-ish face. He was right.
Okay, well,
I don't want that information.
I'm definitely.
I don't want you to enter into a long-term relationship with someone and know that every time you look at her, you're feeling like you're settling in the face department.
Well, I wasn't planning on a long-termer. I wouldn't say something like that.
But you never know.
I
You
knew.
never know.
I think you know.
Yeah.
You know.
But you described that as a good date. You're like, this is a good date. What, was it not as good as you thought?
No.
It didn't end the way he was hoping.
Yeah.
Clearly.
No, it ended the way I hoped.
Oh.
I guess it was good in terms of that.
All right.
You know.
Wait, hold on.
We
How
ended
did you
the
hope it would
coffee,
end?
And I went back to work.
Oh.
Okay. AD and I were like,
great
ooh,
afternoon.
Details.
Yeah, like that was significantly less juicy than I thought it was going to be. How much time do we have left, Funkhouser? Oh, that's it?
That's it.
I gotta say,
Wasted
Jackie
all the
Koppell,
time talking about my love life. That's
Jackie
fine.
Koppell, when you're here, the time just flies by, and I really hope that you're going to come back because I have all sorts of questions for you about what you do, how it's done, and where we can get more of it, which is newsynews.tv, or follow her on Twitter at Jackie Koppell, JACKIEKOPPELL. We'll tweet it out. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. You guys are so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Sometimes you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it.